I wouldn't have learned of this process were it not for the man that I'm about to introduce. Of course, the word genius is bandied about a lot these days, but I think most of us recognise it when we are truly in its presence, and we are about to be. Please welcome to the stage the founder of the David Lynch Foundation and a true genius, Mr. David Lynch.
It's such an impersonation. It's really good. Hello. Huh? No, I'm going to go here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a big welcome to all of you. Can you hear me okay? I'm supposed to talk about this tree. This tree represents to me a phrase that Maharishi used throughout the years to describe transcendental meditation. And this phrase is, water the root and enjoy the fruit. Water the root and enjoy the fruit. Now look at this tree, if you will, and imagine the golden glow gone, no fruit, the tree bending over, and the leaves turning yellow and some turning brown. And it's not autumn. It's because the tree isn't in the greatest shape. And this represents the lives of so many of us today. And we try to attack the problem at the level of the leaves. Surface cures, trying to make each leaf green. And maybe we get a yellow leaf green or a brown leaf green, but by the time we do, we turn around and 6 or 7 leaves have turned brown or yellow behind us. They say the experienced gardener knows there's trouble with the leaves, knows the boughs are weak and the branches are drooping. The experienced gardener doesn't worry about this. The experienced gardener waters the root, and automatically the whole tree comes up to perfection. This is the process of transcendental meditation. You can look at transcendental meditation as a key that opens the door to the big treasury within. The unbounded ocean of pure, vibrant consciousness within every human being. The unified field, being, the self with a capital S, many names for this deepest level of life. And this consciousness has qualities: unbounded intelligence, creativity, happiness called bliss, energy, love, power, dynamic peace. Transcendental meditation is a mental technique, an ancient form of meditation that allows any human being to dive within through deeper levels of mind and intellect, the border of intellect, transcend and experience that ocean of pure consciousness. And it's that experiencing of that ocean that does everything good for the human being. When you experience it, you infuse some of that, and you really begin to expand whatever consciousness you had to begin with. Every human being has consciousness, but not every human being has the same amount. And you say, well, what's the big deal about consciousness? What is consciousness? If you didn't have consciousness, you wouldn't exist, and if you did exist, you wouldn't know it. It's the I am-ness of life. We can only say I am because of consciousness and all those positive qualities. With transcendental meditation, you can expand that consciousness. And there's a side effect to the expansion of consciousness. The side effect is negativity starts to recede. Negativity cannot live in the growing light of this consciousness. More consciousness you have, the less negativity can affect you. So you can see anxiety, stress, traumatic stress, tension, sorrow, depression, hate, anger, rage, need for revenge, fear start to lift away. Such a blessing to have this lift away, so much freedom, such a relief. And this process of expanding consciousness is a process of unfolding the human being's full potential. The full potential of the human being is infinite consciousness, called enlightenment. Enlightenment is the fruit, ultimate fruit of this process of transcending, watering the root. Enlightenment, on the way to it, life just gets better and better and better. Real change for the good truly begins within. So, ladies and gentlemen, water the root and enjoy the fruit. Thank you.
If you look at what it fundamentally does, transcendental meditation, this is a study done with subjects with high blood cholesterol. It's a 1-year study looking at people who practiced TM for that year. And it was associated with a significant reduction in total cholesterol by about 10%. That's 30 millimeters of cholesterol. Now, if you're on a medication for cholesterol, we hope you can get 30 millimeters lower in your blood cholesterol. Well, this happened through transcendental meditation alone. Cholesterol is the first big risk factor we talk about with heart disease. The second big risk factor, this is a randomized clinical trial finding improvement in the levels of insulin resistance, glucose, even insulin levels themselves in over 100 people who had coronary blockages after just 4 months, 16 weeks of TM practice. Dramatic changes reflected that were significantly greater than just teaching people about their health. That's the second part of the problem we have with heart disease, which is diabetes. The third big one, but this one, by the way, was funded by the NIH, so it's a reputable organization supporting this work. The next study looked at a randomized trial of hypertension sufferers, people with high blood pressure, showing that transcendental meditation produced significant reductions in systolic and diastolic, the high number and the low number of the blood pressure, of 11 and 6 millimeters respectively. Those are big numbers. We don't get that kind of result all the time with medications. Now, those three things, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and high blood sugar, those three things drive heart disease. And this last image is probably, for me, the most important. This is an image looking at transcendental meditation effects on reducing mortality, heart disease, and stroke. By how much? By 47%. It was a long-term randomized trial in older African-American patients with coronary disease. This kind of a stunning impact, unimaginable in the transcendental meditation group. And when you talk about all causes of death, and you can reduce them by that much, as well as non-fatal strokes and non-fatal heart attacks, these are spectacularly large impacts. Now, that's the data. That's the hard data about how we can get people to live longer and live better. And we're going to begin the story right here in New York City with the Doe Fund, which is a highly successful reentry program for men who were recently incarcerated or were homeless. This visionary program was made feasible by my friend David Lynch, who's been teaching us tonight and teaches all the time how we can see the extraordinary in the ordinary. And he's a strong believer that how you do anything is how you do everything. And he brings that exact same passion as we need to the movies he makes, but also to the changes in our life. Because our job, I think, is to help the weakest among us. God bless you. Take a look at this.
That lifestyle of being homeless, it's a very, very lonely, depressing. You're saying yes to a lot of things you want to say no to. You try to hide your true feelings out there. You know, you're not supposed to be living like this, but you're like trapped, you're like caught up. I thought I would die at it. I really did. I thought, you know, there's no way I can get out of this.
A typical day living in the streets is like walking up and down, right? Nothing really to do, trying to find a way to get money, you know, to eat. Maybe you collect cans, or you beg for change, ask people for change, you know. Walking the streets all night and walking past restaurants, you know they threw food out and you're like so hungry. I was only eating out of garbage cans. It was terrible. Coming to the Doe Fund was the best thing that happened to me. You have a place to live, a safe environment to live in, right? You're sure to eat 3 meals a day. They have all the tools you need to start your life over if you're serious. I learned about transcendental meditation, TM, at a house meeting.
Somebody talked to me about TM, you know what I mean? And I didn't know what it was. You know, all I knew is that I was so stressed out.
I just heard meditation, and I was like, well, let me try it. you know, maybe to help me.
At first I thought, okay, we're gonna meditate for 20 minutes and I'm gonna get some rest. I didn't know anything about the healing process. I didn't know anything about the rejuvenation, you know, the relaxing of the nerves. You know, I'm like, TM does all that. You know what I mean? It heals your body, what? You know, you can think again with your brains. Oh yeah, I need this.
When I meditate, all the outside pressure, all the things that, you know, are going on in my life just seems to go away for that 20 minutes. And then when it's over, you know, I'm ready to deal with them again.
I was just so frustrated, full of misguided anger. I didn't know where to direct it to, so sometimes I gave it to my counselor. But he was always understanding with me, but he would say, you know what, you gotta stop talking to people like that. You gotta stop that, man, you know. But when I started doing TM, like I said, I didn't even realize it. I'm not doing that no more. People say, you know what, yeah, you look very relaxed today. And there's not a whole lot of craziness. I'm just sitting there calm, you know, and it's surprising even to me.
I'm a part of something greater, a lot bigger. And meditation has helped me with that, to realize, to connect with that.
I feel that inner peace within me. I feel that calm spirit. The gift of transcendental meditation, you know, as another tool, you know, for me to deal with life on life terms. This is the best kept secret in town.
Good evening. My name is Nazarene Griffin, and I'm the director of the Doe Fund's Harlem Center for Opportunity. I'm a little nervous, right? A lot of people here. The Doe Fund is a program that helps men break the cycle of homelessness, addiction, and criminal recidivism through paid transitional work. I've been a program director for 15 years. I'm also a graduate of this program, having been homeless and addicted to drugs myself over 17 years ago. Craig Hall and John Buster, who you've seen in the video, are two of my guys. They're good men. There are thousands of them like that the Doe Fund has helped over the years. We do all we can to give these men the tools they need to live a better, a healthier, and a productive life, one that brings them happiness. Our core belief at the Doe Fund is that work works. Our men need a job, they need a home, and they need the ability to deal effectively with the changes and challenges that life throws at them. Stress is one of their biggest enemies. It keeps them down and it holds them back. And their lives are packed with stress, physical, emotional, and mental. Transcendental meditation is a remarkable tool. I know personally, from my own experience, how effective it can be. I was one of the first at the Doe Fund to learn how to meditate. And I quickly experienced many of the stress-reducing effects. I'm sharper, I'm calmer, and I used to go through Tylenol and Advil like candy. Not anymore. I can't even remember the last time I had a tension headache. For our men, though, meditation is much, much more than just getting rid of headaches and blood pressure. It makes a huge difference in their lives. It is essential for them, that it's an essential tool for them that they can use for the rest of their lives. Thank you, George and Harriet, for founding the Doe Fund. Thanks to Barbara Dalio, David Lynch, and Bobby Roth for bringing TM to us. And many thanks to all of you today for your support. You are helping change lives forever. Good evening.
David, I wanted to offer my support and encouragement and these efforts to help children and veterans, anyone who needs the help to overcome stress through meditation. Of course, a lot of drama is projected onto the screens of our consciousness, our minds, day and night, patterns that you learn from childhood, intrigues, resentments, hatreds, and terrors. And the most difficult ones, the most wrenching anxieties can be triggered by anything at all. They come upon us and grab a hold of us. And we identify them as real because they're so immediate. And I guess the common response is to tough it out. In other words, to suffer. Now, I've been a firm believer in suffering all my life. My pictures are kind of volatile, and they certainly can attest to that. And yet, recently, I learned that you may not have to suffer to make them as much. May not be the way it's supposed to be. I think of children. Children are particularly susceptible to absorbing the anxieties, their anxieties. They look at the adult world. They see a scary place, big. They try to read the looks and the gestures of the adults. They try to master it all, whether it's homework, mathematics, or the entanglements, the emotional entanglements between the parents. And for veterans who've endured the trauma of war, I can only imagine the potential barriers, the fears and the suffering. So for the last few years, I've been practicing meditation, trying, and it's difficult to describe the effect it's had on my life. I can only mention maybe a few words: calm, clarity, a balance, and at times a recognition. And it's made a difference. On this night, as you're trying to raise the funds necessary to bring meditation, transcendental meditation, to students, veterans, homeless men and women, Native Americans, anyone suffering from strong stress, I want to thank you. And I encourage all of you gathered here tonight to support this foundation, David's Foundation. Thanks and good night.
My name is Candy Crowley, and I'm a reporter. I have covered, I've covered U.S. servicemen and women in war zones. I have covered them at their bases, and I have covered them in their homes. And tonight I bring you some facts and a story. The story comes from interviews I did for a documentary. I talked with combat veterans from 5 wars, some living, as one described it, back and forth across the edge of crazy, and others, as one elderly vet put it, who just got on with it. The day I talked to him, he told me the story of the man he first killed, the first man he killed. They were alone, the 2 of them, and met up with each other in the jungle in the Philippines. He was 10 feet from this Japanese soldier when he killed him, and I said, "What was your first reaction?" And he said, "Well, I did what we were taught to do, and that was to go through his pockets and his gear to see if I could find some maps, because perhaps we could find where an arsenal was in the jungle." And he said, "But we were always so hungry because food wasn't around at a mess hall somewhere." And so he said, as I was going through his gear, I found a packet of rice. And so I sat down. He said, "I remember there was a river right where we were, and I sat down beside him and I ate his rice." I spent the whole day with him. He told me other stories of other men that he had killed and friends of his who had been killed. And I said, "And you just came back?" And he said, "I just came back and I got on with it." And I said, "And you never had any problems?" And he said, "Well, my wife, for a long time didn't like to be asleep with me because I thrashed in my sleep and I had nightmares." And then there was this long pause, and he sort of looked at me and he got really emotional, and he said, "You know what?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "I hate rice." We were 50 years past this experience. He had been married for about that long. He had children, he had grandchildren, and the thought of rice made him cry. They need our help. I think this is a wonderful night for a wonderful cause for veterans across the years. Now, some facts. In fiscal year 2010, more than 408,000 vets with a primary or secondary diagnosis of PTSD were treated at VA medical centers and clinics. The VA says on average 18 veterans commit suicide every day. Approximately 40% of homeless men are veterans. It is estimated that nearly 50% of veterans with symptoms of PTSD have not received any help for it, and many who have received help have not received enough. Dan Burks was 19 when he enlisted to fight in Vietnam.
December 18th, 1967, Newsweek. Yeah, 5 days after my birthday. This is a story called The Day's Work. And this is my unit. We went out and got ambushed. And this is me. Yeah, doing my job. We were attacked at this place called Buda. That fight went on for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. The first night, I killed 14 people. There were 2,500 of them and 250 of us. The next morning, in front of my fighting position, 18 of our men did. So this is very, very, very distressing, and it creates huge amounts of distress in your system, And then later in the magazine, coincidentally, is this. This is an article about Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and a couple of guys in my platoon. One of them got the magazine, and he came running over. He said, "Perks, you got to read this." So I did, and I said, "I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that," because it talks about stress release, about becoming a whole person. So then the next part of the story is getting home, and that's a whole big deal because things changed. Things changed. All of a sudden, you're in a different culture. All these people don't understand you. They have no idea. They don't realize that you're always still in the rubber plantation of the jungle. You're always on an adrenaline high. You're looking to protect your buddies. You're looking to protect yourself. You're looking to kill the enemy. I stopped talking to my parents. I had really bad relationships with other people. I did not feel happiness. I did not feel sorrow. I did not feel surprise. My feelings were gone. So one day, my wife comes home, says, "Hey, I saw a poster about transcendental meditation." And I remembered that article in that magazine about Maharishi, and that I said I was going to do this. And so I go in, and he says, "Okay, sit down, do this." And I could not believe what happened. It was the difference between heaven and hell. It was absolutely transformational. All that feeling of stress and all that feeling of heaviness, I could feel it melt away from my head to my feet. And from that moment on, things changed. Things changed. No more drugs, no more alcohol. Life changed. My emotions came back. My life came back.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce a man of conviction, a man who doesn't talk too much, but who is a staunch supporter of the David Lynch Foundation, coming to you from California, Clint Eastwood.
Well, good evening, David. I just want to apologize for not being able to be there tonight at the Metropolitan Museum and be there for the David Lynch Foundation and the Wounded Warrior Program. I think I'm a great supporter of transcendental meditation. I've been using it for almost 40 years now. And I think it is a great tool for anyone to have and to be able to utilize as a tool for stress. And stress, of course, comes with almost every business, but especially considering the stress that our men and women of the armed forces would go through, the anxieties of going either in or coming from combat, and stress syndromes of various types. I think it's a great tool. I think there's enough studies out there that show that transcendental meditation, or TM, we all call it, is something that could benefit everybody. And I congratulate you and everyone there tonight. And again, apologize for not being there. I want to pay tribute to Captain Yellen and Colonel Brian Reese and Ed Sloman, Master Sergeant, and everyone there who is supporting this organization. I think you'll find it's a great system to use and life in general. Otherwise, why would I have been doing it all these years? Almost half of my life. I've just calculated. So have a good evening. I'm sorry I'm not there. Bye-bye.
I would like to thank the great Clint Eastwood and the great Marty Scorsese for appearing here tonight via video. Their support means so much to the foundation and so much to me personally.
What does science tell us about meditation?
A lot. Meditation.
I'm genuinely interested.
That was it.
Oh yeah, that would have been short. I'd have done, oh, fair enough, he's a quantum physicist.
Meditation, properly understood, is a technique to turn the outwardly directed attention within, to experience deeper, quieter levels of thought, to go beyond the thinking process, to experience pure subjectivity, pure consciousness, the source of thought. Science says this meditative state is a fourth state of consciousness, distinct from waking, dreaming, sleeping. It's a state of very deep rest, deeper than sleep, and simultaneously a unique state of electrophysiological brain functioning. That means orderliness of brain functioning, maximum EEG coherence. And that's important because EEG coherence correlates with rising IQ, intelligence, creativity, learning ability, good looks, psychological stability, emotional maturity. Everything good about the mind depends on its orderly function.
How are those neurological factors that you've just described palpable and tangible? How can you prove that?
Simple tests for IQ that kids all take, that adults avoid. You can show that, university kids, for example, intelligence continues to rise. It rises in adults in elderly homes, and at that point, intelligence is not supposed to be increasing. After the age of, well, about your age, intelligence begins to shrink dangerously.
20? It's a cruel world.
So the fact that anybody can start a process that increases orderly brain functioning, raises intelligence, creativity, learning ability, academic performance, moral reasoning, is an amazing tool for education. I'm very excited about this as an educator.
I've noticed my moral reasoning has gone through the bloody roof since I started meditating. I'm so morally reasonable, sometimes I don't leave the house. What does the transcendental element of transcendental meditation mean, please, Doctor?
The transcendental is important because it's not about thinking or concentrating or contemplating or visualizing or any kind of intention, any kind of effort. It's about slipping beyond thought to the experience of the source of thought, which is being, pure subjectivity, pure wakefulness. So when that happens, the awareness, which is normally sharply localized, and the harder we concentrate, the more sharply, narrowly focused the awareness is, starts to relax and expand and relax and expand, and then boom, unbounded. Then you get a burst of EEG coherence, and then when that becomes stabilized, orderliness of brain function, it becomes color fast, permanent.
So just in simplistic laymanistic terms, that initial focus on the mantra gives you access to a broader consciousness.
It's not the focus on the mantra, it's the fading of the mantra, which is part of the process. It's an ancient trick. It happens automatically. It's gone. And when it's gone, you are no longer localized. You are unbounded. It's that unbounded awareness subjectively that gives the global EEG coherence, orderliness of brain functioning. So it's not really about concentrating on a mantra, it's about transcending the mantra.
I understand. Is there a religious or a doctrinaire component to this system?
It's not a religion, it's not a philosophy, it's this technique, pure and simple, to experience the source of thought, pure consciousness. Now, people of different faiths may say, to them, it has deep religious significance. It resonates with their own beliefs. Many religious faiths, spiritual traditions, believe in the fundamental unity of life, which is now a scientific fact, the fundamental unity at the basis of the diversity of the universe. That's what the unified field is, but you knew that. transcendental
I
meditation
did
is
actually, because I
experiencing
looked at that
unity.
tree drawing.
That's it. That's it.
Like there is unified, all being is
At the
there
source
is
of
ultimate-
diversity. Yeah, the
Oh.
basis of diversity. So the diversity on this level, molecular, less atomic, less nuclear, less subnuclear, and then one. The force is all unified. That's the unified field, the fulfillment of Einstein's dream. The superstring revolution, which hit the UK, I understood, it hit here, and
Yeah,
since
we're
then...
nuts for superstring over there. It's like Beatlemania all over again.
You could say that the long-term result of meditation is living the scientific truth of the unity of life, experiencing it momentarily and then stabilizing it and living the unity of humanity as a living reality in daily life. And that's what David Lynch was talking about, enlightenment, higher states of consciousness.
This question, Doctor, it seems a bit aggressive, but I assure you it was given to me by Bobby Roth, who is a good man. This is not, like, I'm not improvising these questions, that's why I've got this thing. You are a quantum physicist. It begins with a statement, that's irrefutable, we've already established that. What are you doing talking about meditation? Seems aggressive, but that's the question.
Since Einstein, physics has been about discovering the fundamental unity at the basis of the surface diversity of the universe. You dig beneath the molecular, atomic, nuclear, and these big particle accelerators to discover the unity deep at the core of physical reality. Meditation is a subjective means of experiencing that same fundamental unity of life. And that fundamental experience transforms the brain. It transforms the physiology as well. But really, it's the same unity from the perspective of modern physics that is experienced subjectively in the meditative state of pure consciousness.
I really like that. I really like it when things in the world of physics seem to be replicated in the spiritual world, that there is a presumed oneness between us all as spiritual beings, and this appears to be mirrored by the physical world, that we are all one, that separation is an illusion, that conflict is unnecessary. It's like we're having a go at ourselves, like sort of a war between nations, like chewing your own foot off.
Like that.
Don't try and mug me off, mate. I do this for a living. I don't come round your house and try and split atoms. Right, so I think now there's a scientific element to our understanding. I think that, is there anything else that you think we should add, or has this been perhaps the best interview you've ever encountered?
One thing, and that is, I'm an educator. I'm really excited about the application of this for kids. Because school, you spend so many years there, and you wonder what it's for, but it's really ultimately for the full development of mind, body, and behavior. The addition of 20 minutes experiencing the unbounded self, developing the brain, actually developing intelligence, creativity, harnessing the full potential of the brain, that's what education should do. You add this to education, the transformation in the schools is unbelievable. So last year we launched at Radio City Music Hall a tech program to teach 1 million at-risk kids. We've done 120,000. Since then, 350 schools have incorporated this into the curriculum here and all over the world. It's going to be soon a very different world. And this is the wave of the future. The goal of our foundation is to get there sooner rather than later. And with the help of everybody here, we will really achieve meditation, full potential, all over the world. And that's what we're about. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. John Hageman.
I'd like to thank all the great people that have appeared on this stage tonight. I'd like to thank all the great people behind the stage tonight. And I'd like to thank all of you for being here. Now let's go enjoy dinner together. Thank you very much.